My dad had a lot of little quirky sayings that he used to spout off whenever something would happen, and one of his favorite ones in reference to me when I would say, "Dad, I can't do that," would be, "Can't never did anything." I heard that frequently, especially when it came to me doing something Dad wanted done, and to me it looked like work, and Dad wanted it done, and I would say, "But I can't." So I'm going to tell you a little story about what happened to me this past week when I tried to go to Houston, Texas for the media day that's associated with the Food Truck Owners Expo that we're doing in July of this year. Welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore. I am a food truck business coach, author of 5 food truck vending books, including Food Truck 101 and Food Truck 201. This podcast is all about helping you start and grow your food truck business. How confident are you about your menu pricing? Are your prices profitable, or are you just scraping by? If you're not sure, I've got just what you need. Table Needs has built a super simple menu pricing calculator that you can use for free, and it will help you figure out the best price point for every item on your menu. Get started with Table Needs menu pricing calculator today at tableneeds.com, or you'll find a direct link in the description below the podcast. So before I tell you the story about what happened on my trip to Houston, let me explain what a media day is. Basically, the folks at the expo wanted me to come out there and they wanted to film me doing different little promos and other things in the environment as opposed to being over a Zoom call or a voiceover. So they wanted me to be there physically, and they took a lot of videos of me, and then they did a couple of different podcast interviews with me, all to create content to help advertise the Food Truck Owners Expo. And then they wanted to show me the Civic Center there in Humble, Texas, as well as the food truck park that we were going to be having our reception at. So it was all cool to me. I would love to see all that kind of stuff. So in order to get me there, they were going to fly me, and they were going to pay for all the accommodations, pay for my food, pay for the flight. Awesome. Sounds like a little mini vacation to me. It would be a lot of fun. So this past Sunday, at the appointed hour, I get in the car with Melissa. She drives me to the airport. She drops me off because the airport in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, it is a small regional airport that's associated with the Air Force Base. So typically the parking lot is jam-packed with many of the Air Force folks that are off on the different things that the Air Force sends them to do around the country. And so they park their car there at the parking lot for the airport, and then they fly commercial because it's cheaper than flying one of their big transport planes. So that means that airport is always has nowhere to park. And like most airports that are growing, and as I come to find out, our airport is one of the fastest growing airports in the country. At least that's what they say on the little commercial that they do over the intercom. There was nowhere to park. So Melissa just basically pulled up to the curb and gave me a hug. My son gave me a hug, and off they went back to the Funiac, and off I went into the airport terminal. We were about 2 hours early, get through the TSA checkpoints, and I've got about an hour and 45 minutes to waste. Not a big deal. So I just sit there on my phone, just reading through Facebook, approving posts, answering questions, and waiting on the plane to arrive and then for us to be able to board. The plane lands at its normal time when it should be landing, so like, awesome, everything's on time. We're going to be able to fly out of here no problem. Well, as soon as the plane debarks, all the people that are getting off in Fort Walton, the little flight attendant comes on and says, "I'm sorry, passengers, we are going to be delayed in boarding the plane as there's a small maintenance issue. Once that's taken care of, the pilot will give us the okay and we will be ready to board." What that meant to me was there's a problem. Now, at the time, I didn't know this was a Boeing plane, but it was no big deal. Going to get the maintenance taken care of and we'll be able to fly. I looked at my next flight because I really wasn't paying attention to the details when I scheduled my flight for Houston. My connecting flight had about a 2-hour window. So I was like, not a problem. They got, less than 2 hours to get this thing fixed, get us on, and I can still get there on time and make my connection. I wasn't too worried. Well, about 30 minutes later, the attendant comes on, and it's gone from a minor maintenance issue to we have to fly a part in from Dallas, Texas. It should be here at 6 o'clock, and then we'll be able to board and get you guys off to your connecting flights. So I checked the time, and if they were able to get it ready, I would have about 15 minutes. Okay, this could still work. And then the flight attendant came on a little bit later and starts asking for passengers to bring up their luggage to be checked because they said they're going to run out of overhead space. Like, okay, that's good. At least they are planning on this plane leaving tonight, so that's awesome. Of course, you know how people are in airports. They think they are the king and queen and everyone else should bow down to them as opposed to them volunteering and let's get my luggage loaded so that we have sufficient room. No one moved. So about 15 minutes later, one more announcement goes off. We'll be boarding soon. We need some people to come and do the checking of the luggage. Well, I'm looking at my watch going, how can we be boarding soon? It's still not even 6 o'clock yet, so the part hasn't even got here. So one of the flight attendants comes out, and anybody that has one of those big pieces of luggage that really should be checked, but they're going to try and stuff in that overhead compartment and take up space that's reserved for other people. So she comes out, and everyone's got one of those big overstuffed pieces. She's asked them to come up to the line. So basically the teachers come out and said, hey, y'all need to come up here. And a handful of people did, but not near enough. So I'm looking at my watch going, well, they got to know what's going on because we should be boarding here shortly in order to be able to leave and make those connecting flights. Well, about another half hour goes by. The flight attendant gets on and says there's going to be a further delay. Now, it's still the plane to bring the part has not landed yet. It's like they're finding more and more maintenance issues. And she says, I want to give you all some bad news. This will be the only flight you can leave from this airport for the next 2 days. Everything else is booked solid. So Monday and Tuesday, if somebody wanted to just get frustrated and go home, they would not be able to fly out until at least Wednesday. So there was a collective groan of all of the passengers are now looking at their watches going, I can't make my connections. I'm going to be late for work tomorrow. Whatever their problem was going to be, they were all upset. So you see people start to leave the terminal and doing other things. So I wanted to get away from the chaotic mess of people just whining and complaining. So I went down the concourse to a different terminal where there was no one sitting and waiting. And I called the expo people to explain to them what was going on. And they were sympathetic. They said, please, if you can get here, we don't care if it starts late tomorrow. We really need you to be here because they wanted to film me. Not a problem. They said, whatever it takes, make it happen. So you got a deal. I don't miss appointments. And they said, don't worry about it. It'll be okay. We can rearrange our schedule to work around whenever you arrive. So they were very sympathetic. So I started looking at my phone and being a little bit more careful about the notifications I was getting. And then I saw a bunch of reschedules. At this point, the plane part has not gotten there yet. American Airlines has rescheduled me to fly out at 9 o'clock in the evening, which will make me miss every possible connecting flight from Dallas to Houston. And then they scheduled me to leave out of Dallas the next morning, which would put me in Houston at the exact time we were supposed to start our day with the expo people. So on the one hand, that's not bad. I'm still going to be able to do most of the day like they wanted. They would just have to pick me up at the airport and maybe be an hour behind at most. But that would also put me having to sleep in an airport, even though they'll put you up and all that nonsense. By the time you get out of the airport, go to a hotel, get up early enough to get back to the airport to go through security, you're only getting a couple hours of sleep anyway. So I was not real thrilled with that. So I called Melissa. I said, why don't you come on down here and pick me up? I ain't going. There is no sense in what's going on with this airplane. And because of our little tiny area, I don't have a lot of choices. But I'm not sitting here till 9 o'clock tonight to find out that, we're going to have to cancel you till tomorrow. And we know what they already told us. No flights on Monday, no flights on Tuesday. So it's looking pretty dim and dark. So Melissa jumps in the car and heads back down from Definiak Springs to Fort Walton Beach, Florida. It's going to take her about 45 minutes or so to come pick me up. So during that time, I'm trying to figure out what in the world am I going to do about this media day for the expo people. I want to be there. I don't miss appointments. I don't look for excuses not to do things. If I don't want to do something, I'll just tell you up front. I ain't doing it. I don't say, yeah, I'll do it, and then try to find some excuse later to not have to do it that's beyond my control, like a lot of people do. One of the things my dad taught me, can't never did anything. So I don't give him I can't. It's either I will or I won't. So as Melissa's driving down here, I call the expo leader one more time and tell her, I'm not going to be able to make the flight tonight. There's just no way. And she's like, well, I understand. If there's anything y'all can do or need, it's fine. We'll make do with what we have here in Houston. Because they had other plans anyway. It's not like their whole purpose for being in Houston revolved around me. They had lots of other things to do. It's just I was an important component to help them get their content ready to advertise the expo. Not a big deal. And they would just work around it. So I call Melissa. She's driving down before she loses the connection because one of the roads, the cell phone is very, very spotty. So I asked her, would you like to drive to Houston tonight? And she's like, well, I wish we'd have made this decision before I left home because she could have gotten herself some clothes and prepared our son and the animals to be able to survive a couple of days without us. She said, yeah, I'll drive you, no problem. So she comes down, picks me up. We drive back to Defuniak Springs, which, if you're not familiar with the map, is the wrong direction to go to Houston. It's not like it's on the way. So we drive back to Defuniak Springs. She packs. We get our son ready to be able to survive a couple of days without us as far as food goes. He's 19 years old. He'll be fine. But we wanted to make sure he knew what was going on. Got food ready and stuff for the animals that we have. And we got our truck packed up. We grabbed a few things off the food truck so we'd have some snacks to eat on the drive. And we headed to Houston. We left Defuniak Springs at 7:30 at night. And we're driving to Houston, Texas. I had to meet them in the lobby of the hotel at 8:45 in the morning. That was going to be the start of our day. They were going to buy us breakfast and then start the day at the Civic Center and then end up at the food truck park for the reception. So I jump in to the car or the truck with Melissa, and we're looking at this going, man, I wish we had a car, because we're driving our truck that we use to pull our food truck with. And you know what kind of gas mileage that is going to get. Not real good. So we head out and we're making good time. Melissa is pretty much Batman when she drives, and she can be quite fast. So we head out. We just stay talking to each other. But of course, my day has been a long day already, and I'm starting to get tired. Melissa's a night owl. She usually is up 2 or 3 hours later than me anyway, and I usually go to bed roughly at midnight. But she gets up in the morning and we do the food truck 5 days a week. So she's used to getting little sleep and staying up later than me. So she made me sleep on the drive. I slept about an hour, woke up, talked to her another couple of hours. She said, you need to go sleep, because she could tell I was starting to nod off. So I slept for about another hour or so. As we're approaching Houston, I woke up. And she's like, I can't make it. I'm just too tired. And at this point, we were almost to our destination. And we have made amazing time. She said, I've got to stop. I can't stay awake. So I said, sure, just pull over anywhere. We'll, take a couple hour nap and head on into Houston. So we pulled over at a Buc-ee's that's outside of Houston, Texas. It said it was 29 miles from our destination. I had already notified the expo people we were going to be there. Come hell or high water, we were going to be there. So they went ahead and told the people at the hotel that we were going to be running late. They went ahead and got the hotel room taken care of. And that way the hotel wouldn't give away our room, because we were so late. And then Melissa and I slept. We got to the Buc-ee's at 4:30. We slept till 6:30. Now, Houston, Texas traffic that time of the morning is not fun. So what should have taken us another 20, 29, 30 minutes ended up taking us closer to an hour. So by the time that we woke up and we drove into the hotel, got checked in, it was roughly 7:30 in the morning. So I texted the expo people, let them know that, hey, we're here. And they said, oh, thank you so much. If you guys want to take, a nap, and specifically they're talking to me because they weren't planning on Melissa being there. If y'all want to take a nap, you can join us at the food truck park reception area, and we'll just do all of our filming from there. And I said, no, I've had enough sleep. So I've had a total of 4 hours. It was broken sleep. And so I'll meet you downstairs at the appointed time, because we were there to make that breakfast reservation. And they said, well, since you weren't coming, we went ahead and canceled that, and we're going to meet about 9:45. I said, not a problem. I'll be there. So when 9:45 rolls around, walk down to the lobby of the hotel. They're waiting on me, and we jump in their little tiny rental car and start the day. So come back tomorrow and I'll tell you how the rest of that day went.
Thank you so much for listening to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. If you're finding all the information helpful to your food truck business, please become a monthly supporter of the podcast. Just hit the support button or follow the link in the description. Every little bit does help keep us going. Join our Facebook group. It's called Food Truck Training. We have a whole bunch of awesome members at all different levels, from brand new beginners to decades-old veterans. They've all got your back when it comes to helping you with your food truck. And again, thank you for listening. Come back tomorrow, because I got plenty more to say when it comes to helping you and your food truck business grow.